This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are on a short week, getting ready for a visit from Washington on Thursday night at Lambeau Field. The Commanders bring a diverse offense to town, led by Rookie of the Year from last year, Jaden Daniels, a quarterback. Going to be a challenge for a Packers defense coming off a dominant performance against the Lions that saw them rack up 9 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. Big part of that was the debut of Micah Parsons. Washington coach Dan Quinn coached Parsons in Dallas for the first 3 years of his career. He knows what kind of damage he can do, but he also said, can't put all your focus on him.
You have a vulnerability in a spot. You want to make sure you can fortify that to a strength so you don't just leave it to chance and see what happens. You want to make sure there's a plan to go into it. For teams like Green Bay, they've got a number of good players. And that makes it also more challenging when this one and that one over there. So when there's just one player that to stop and say, okay, this is what we want to do, that's easier than when there's multiple people in different locations.
Again, it'll be the Packers and Commanders on Thursday night. Kick is at 7:15. The Badgers, meanwhile, getting ready for a big challenge as they head to Alabama on Saturday to face the Tide. Wisconsin already installed as a 20.5-point underdog. Biggest spread they faced since 1996. Kick on Saturday is set for 11 a.m.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers' magic number to clinch the NL Central stands at 11 games. They'll look to lower it tonight as they take on the Rangers in the second game of their series. First pitch in Arlington set for 7:05. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
That devolved after a wonderful first drive. That devolved into a deeply unpleasant, familiar Bears primetime football experience.
Keep going.
Sad, mad. I mean, it was freaking brutal. Caleb Williams was really bad last night. This offense is designed for him to go to the top of his drop and then make the throw in rhythm. Count how many times you actually saw him do it last night. I was counting as it happened. I got to 3. I mean, maybe really even 2. But like, it was so noticeable when he actually did that Troy Aikman almost jumped out of his chair in appreciation.
I think that just happens sometimes in moments. You just got to reel it back in and go out there and execute. We did that on that last drive, or second to last drive that we had, being able to reel it back in and go out there, complete the ball.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
2 sound bites there in the intro. That first voice you heard, that was Matt Spiegel, 670 The Score. And I want to talk about 670 The Score and some of the things that I've been hearing and seeing coming out of Chicago radio the last, 15 hours, 16 hours ever since Monday Night Football ended last night, starting with their post-game coverage and then a lot of the clips that I saw reacting to what happened in Bears Vikings last night. So I want to get back to that. Just kind of gets us into the show. The second comment that you heard there is Caleb Williams. Just kind of talking about, that happens sometimes in games and you just got to keep your focus and get back to it and start to execute again. The question that he was asked, by the way, was, hey, man, you missed a lot of throws. How did that happen? And his answer one more time.
I think that just happens sometimes.
That just happens sometimes, where he's not wrong, but it's not supposed to happen nearly as much as it was happening for him last night.
I think that just happens sometimes in moments. You just got to reel it back in and go out there and execute. We did that on that last drive, or second to last drive that we had, being able to reel it back in and go out there and complete the ball.
And that drive kind of felt like window dressing when they were able to score that touchdown towards the end of the game. So the Vikings won last night. Comeback. J.J. McCarthy starts terribly, finishes very strong. I want to start the show by reacting to Monday Night Football last night. I know it's not Wisconsin sports, but part of the draw, part of why I like live sports talk radio is we are reacting to what happened yesterday. You turn on the show and you're like, hey, we all watched this game yesterday. Now I want to hear Grant's thoughts. I want to hear what callers have to say. I want to hear audio from different voices. That's what live sports talk radio is. So we're going to begin with this. We're going to do this for about, 8 minutes. And then Mike Clemens is going to drop by before we even take our first break. Mike will be here and he's going to bring us the latest from Green Bay earlier today. They already talked. The locker room was open earlier today. Coaches are going to speak, I think, in the 5 o'clock hour tonight. So we're going to catch Mike in the in-between, get an update on some injuries on a short week, and get his thoughts quickly on Monday's game. It's a quick turnaround. Coaches today would be saying like, well, it's actually a Friday for us, or, whatever the day is. Their schedule is truncated. So we're going to get a little bit of Mike here in 5 or 6 minutes. But I got to react to last night's game. The Vikings are very impressive. They're well coached. They're really talented. All of the things that were true of the Vikings last year are true this year. The only uncertainty we had was quarterback. And we kind of got the full rookie experience. J.J. McCarthy is very young. He's not a rookie. He's a rookie starter. He learned a lot last year and was able to be around the team. I think there's value there. The Bears part of the story interests me a lot more. And I don't start with the Bears, and I don't start by talking about Caleb Williams because as a Packers fan, I like to rub it in. I mean, I do. I enjoy watching my rival teams lose, but I'm not going to build a show around it right now. When it's a standalone game, we're going to talk about it. I can't believe, and I was watching 670 The Score, the big sports talk station in Chicago. I know ESPN 1000 carries the Bears games, and like Adam Kaplan and others are on there. So, or David Kaplan, not Adam Kaplan. Like that's a station too. I follow 670. It's where Parkins used to be. It's where Bernstein used to be. They used to also have Shane Riordan and other good guys, but all too often in sports radio, it seems like these guys are losing jobs. Whatever. Maybe I'm next. We'll see. I've just been watching all these clips today, and I can't believe what I'm seeing from Bears people. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. It's a lot of, like I saw a clip earlier today complaining about running back depth. Why didn't Ryan Poles draft another running back? I see Leah Ramini talking about that today. I'm seeing clips talking about, well, the offensive line this, and well, Ben Johnson needed to handle the clock better late in the game, and why didn't they do an onside kick, or why didn't they do this? And it's like, you guys, if I was a Bears fan or I worked in Chicago media, and I obviously don't, like Caleb Williams is the only story today. I can't believe how bad he looked. I got it a little bit last year. Nobody thinks the world of Matt Eberflus or Shane Waldron. Although I did say last year, I do remember saying last year, like Shane Waldron has coordinated a good offense before. This is not some nobody. They didn't like find Freddie Kitchens at the local supermarket and hire him. Like Shane Waldron has done this before. Matt Eberflus has been a coach for a long time. Maybe it's not the perfect coaching staff, but it seems like it's a little bit better than what most people are saying. Whatever. I got it, and I got the dysfunction, and I got why Caleb Williams looked the way that he did last year. This year, Bears fans, all of your attention and all of your energy should be directed at the quarterback. That offensive line has been improved. Even if it's not the best in football, it's been improved. I thought DeAndre Swift looked pretty spry last night when he got opportunities. And not every opportunity is perfect. It's not always blocked perfectly. The running numbers for the Bears last night are great. But that's a competent O-line group with a competent group of running backs. The wide receivers, I think Adunze is really good. DJ Moore is excellent. They just drafted Tyler Warren. Cole Kmet, again, not the world's best tight end, but certainly really, really solid. The defense got a score. They were at home with all the juice in the world facing a rookie quarterback making his first ever start at night on Monday Night Football. And Caleb Williams, that was one of the worst quarterback performances I've ever seen. And I don't get, when I see the coverage and when I see the talking points from Chicago radio people, it's like, well, Ben Johnson needed to do. You guys, it's the quarterback. It's him. I was talking with a friend. One of my best friends is a diehard Chicago fan. He's a big Bears fan. One of my roommates in college, like one of my lifelong buddies. And he just loses his mind over these games. And last night I was talking to him. He's like, I feel nothing anymore watching this team. This is how many times they've let me down in my life. This is how many times. And I was telling him, his name's Ryan. I'm like, Ryan, the way I see this is all Caleb Williams. The team went out and got him the best offensive coach available. They invested on the O-line. They invested in tight end after investing heavy in wide receiver the last 2 years. They also drafted Luther Burden, by the way. I forgot about that until now. He's in the mix. I don't know, like Matthew Golden, if he's going to be a stud and contribute at a high level right away. I could not believe how bad Caleb Williams looked last night because he's got the talent. He's got the trait. He's got everything now that he should need. They've built the whole thing around him. They've catered to him since the day they drafted him. You know, a lot of people today are talking about, well, the Bears have ruined another quarterback, or the Bears still suck. What's new? Of course they stink. Of course Caleb Williams stink. Bears fans, you should be able to sleep like a baby at night, knowing what the Bears have done to that roster, what they've done to that coaching staff. I cannot believe how bad Caleb Williams looked last night. And I know it's only week 1, but don't you feel like last night for the Bears was a little similar to what Sunday was for the Packers? Week 1, divisional opponent at home. The Lions had 2 new coordinators and some new starting O-linemen. The Vikings are breaking in a new quarterback who's never started an NFL game before. And I think he's the youngest quarterback in football. Isn't he like 22? 23 at the oldest. He's young. He's really young. And he didn't exactly play a ton in college. Like he's a project, which is a little tricky because the Vikings are kind of ready to win now, but whatever. Again, set the Viking stuff to the side. Didn't it kind of feel like last night was a massive night for the Bears? And to come out and play like that, like I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, does Caleb Williams, like, is he not locked in? Is he not really as good as we thought? I mean, the talent is there. That opening drive, everyone wants to talk about, well, the scripted plays looked great at the beginning of the game. I don't even think he was running the scripted plays. The biggest play of that drive was him rolling to his right on 3rd down. That wasn't scripted. That was like Aaron Rodgers throwing to Jared Cook in 2016, where it was like the play's broken down. I'm shifting to the right. The wide receiver is mirroring me down the field. I'm going to throw it on the run along the sideline. Like, that wasn't scripted. That wasn't scripted at all. So I'm confused and I'm perplexed and I'm almost angry on behalf of Bears fans, because when an organization hires the right coach, and I think the Bears did, and they've invested in O-line and they've invested in the weapons, and the defense has kind of been good throughout. They got a score last night. I don't understand how Caleb Williams looked that bad. I just don't. So a really entertaining game last night, not because the quality of football was good, but because of the storylines that were at the forefront of that game, and because they're divisional rivals of our team, the Packers. So anytime the Vikings or the Bears or the Lions are playing, it's just inherently more interesting to me. If that game last night would have been the Panthers and the Browns, I would have turned it off at halftime. There's no chance in hell I would have watched that till the end. But because it's division rivals of the Packers, and it's Caleb in year 2, and it's JJ McCarthy making his first start, like I did find it interesting. I just don't understand how Caleb Williams looks that bad. And for all the people who were up the rear end of Tyler Dunne saying, oh, he's reporting on all this sour grapes, and he's reporting for clicks. And don't you feel like all of that stuff was laid bare last night on the field? All of the things that were reported about all the things that went on behind the scenes last year? I don't get it. So we'll talk more about that. We can pick a little fun at the Bears and the Vikings too. We can talk about the Vikings side of it. Arif Hasan is going to be here at 5:00. Now, he's covered the Vikings before. He does his own thing now. His Substack is excellent. I recommend subscribing. Very, very smart. He'll help us break down not what he saw just from the Vikings and the Bears last night, but also we'll talk Packers lines, just kind of first impressions through 1 week of the NFC North. So that's coming up at 5:00. Mike Clemens is not called yet, so I'm going to sneak a commercial break in here real quick. We're going to come back and get the latest from Green Bay with Mike Clemens in just a couple of minutes. And then we'll get to your calls at the bottom of the hour, I promise. So I do want to chat about Monday Night Football with you and about the latest from Green Bay, but I do want to get the details from Mike, who will join us coming up next in 3 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Same time, we want to go out there and execute at a high level, but there's, situational awareness plays a part in that.
Back in the 90s, when Favre was the quarterback, Leroy Butler and Reggie White would tell him, hey, you can take some chances, we'll get you the ball back. Do you think maybe this does free you up to maybe take a chance or two once in a while?
No, I mean, my style of play, I love, I'm going to try and put the ball down, move the ball down the field.
Spam. You got to spam, up, down, that spam.
That's a final offense.
Like push-ups and you can come back in.
All right. No.
Your style of play, taking chances.
Yeah, I think I'm a very aggressive quarterback.
Mike, you could have porked the whole press conference right there, man. That's from earlier today, and we'll get more into some player audio. I think today's technically a Friday because they play Thursday, which means the week is abbreviated, and the coaches always tell us all about that. Mike Clemens is joining us now. Mike, that was your phone that went off? You got to silence those things. They'll make you run laps.
I'm having a day, okay? I'm running from one thing to another.
Yeah.
It's the new iPhone 16 I've got that takes great pictures. Hey, they try and hide Micah Parsons 100 yards down the field during drills, last week.
Yep.
But this baby zooms in, so I get some good pictures. And and also I can't find my charger, and I'm just having one of those days. I forgot to turn it off, and then, this is totally weird, the schedule that we've got going on today. We're going to talk to the coaches here in about 20 minutes until about 5:30. So it's a weird day. We got Thursday night football going on.
I hope that you joining this show is it makes your day better, and it's not viewed as just another thing that's a pain in the butt. But even if it is, you can keep it to yourself. It'll make me feel bad. Well, you spoke with Jordan Love, with Micah Parsons, with players. We have the injury report. So what have you heard today, and what do we need to know as their next game is now all of a sudden just a little bit over than 48 hours away?
First, my one thought from 50,000 feet is the NFL schedulers put in their thing to Roger Goodell the first weekend in May. And the guy who's done this for like 20 years, what a mastermind.
Yep.
Between, the games that were last week, the Eagles and the spitting and the Cowboys, right? And the Chargers upsetting the Chiefs down in Brazil. The Packers and the Lions, in that prime 3:25 time, Central Time, in a good game there by the Packers, and Micah Parsons putting on an absolute show. And the fact that Micah Parsons comes to Green Bay, and Green Bay is on the schedule for not only the 3:25 game with Nance and Tony Romo on Sunday, but now on Thursday night. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable in terms of the product and the ratings and the anticipation against a good Commanders team too with Jaden Daniels. So listen, man, we just got done doing about 25 minutes with Micah Parsons. Every quote from that guy is interesting.
Yep.
He's on every level, and he's not only fast on the field, he's fast in terms of people relationships with coaches. Now, there were stories though at times where he wore people out during his 4 years with Dallas, right? Where there's some, or there's some periods where he kind of went into a slump where he's hot and cold. Whatever teams are doing to him, what maybe they've done to Rashawn Gary too. They profile him in their game plans. They double team him. Whatever the case, I thought that after the game Sunday night, Jaden Daniels, who's out there with this fractured foot,
Oh, Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed, yeah, with the foot. Yep.
What did I say? Daniels.
We got 2 Jadens we're worried about this week. Yep.
This is the day that I'm having. My cell phone's going off in the middle of press conferences, Grant.
I think we all knew what you meant. I just wanted to clarify. So Jaden Reed dealing with the foot injury.
Packers wide receiver Jaden Reed said, "Hey, that's textbook, man. The way you guys got started against that tough Lions defense, and those guys are healthy now. That's the way you do it." And he goes, "You practice fast and you start fast."
Yep.
And like, oh, he goes, "Yeah." So I said, I told that to Jordan Love today. I said, "Is it, like getting ready for this week, for this short week? You get the tablet, you have a meeting, they install the game plan, maybe some new plays, then you have your walkthrough, then you warm up. But when you actually walk out on the grass for those first 5 or 6 snaps at practice, you've got to be thinking, this is game time, right?" And here's what Jordan said.
Definitely. I mean, everything you do, you want to start fast. Practice, you want to go out there and execute every play at a high level. And like you said, it's all about the way you start. It starts, just gives you I feel like the energy and just keeps you focused on the day at hand, versus, a bad start, slow start, things like that. But no, I mean, it's one thing that we've focused on, and it's definitely been a big focus for us the past 2 years as well, is just, as an offense, how do we come out, start as fast as possible, try and go down on that first drive and get points, because I think it sets you up for the rest of the game, and it just puts you in a great spot, gives guys that confidence to keep going and executing.
So, Mike, Bill had, what's her last name? Her first name is Jennifer. She's so good. She's from Fox 2 in Detroit. She was on with Bill on Friday.
Yeah, I heard her on the show last week.
And
I heard her on the show last week.
I feel bad that I can't remember her name, but they had a great conversation about the stakes for both of these teams, how much this meant for the Packers, how much this meant for the Lions. I think this game undoubtedly meant more for the Packers even before Micah Parsons gets to town, but then he arrives and it just ratchets it up further. I know that the Packers had more of a reason to be fired up and to go out and win that game, but the fact that they did it and they didn't show up and look frazzled or too excited, that team looked to me like a team, at least through one game, that has matured a little bit, that realizes the task at hand, came in a little bit more prepared, a little bit more focused, played cleaner. Like that just seemed on Sunday like a more mature team that was able to do the things that they were talking about doing all of last year, but they were never really able to figure it out and actually do it.
Yeah, and they could also face a high-scoring Jaden Daniels, on Thursday Night Football and be totally embarrassed. I'm just telling you this, though. Coming off of that locker room, coming off what was leading up to it, because you don't, how much is this team, these players, kind of upset? Like, man, Kenny Clark, seriously, you just deal out Kenny Clark like that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So if you hit 30 here, you're gone, right? It's just that constant reminder. But I mean, there was a time, 30 years ago, I was at a TV show backstage with Dorsey Levens, the running back, and the future Hall of Famer Leroy Butler, and they got a little call that we were just getting cell phones back then. But Leroy put down his phone and goes, "They just traded Allen Rossum to the Falcons."
Mm-hmm.
And Dorsey's like, "What? That was like the best returner they had in a couple of years." And it took them 5 minutes, and then they, okay, whatever. Kind of like you and I in showbiz, right?
Yep.
Hey, did you hear somebody's show got just can't? What? And we talk about it for 5 minutes, like, okay, you move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is. But so far, and Lucas Van Ness been kind of hiding. He talked to Rob Domofsky, though, at ESPN, and just gave him 1 or 2 lines. But that dude is like, I mean, they've replaced him with Micah Parsons, essentially.
Yeah.
But you saw that he got a sack. You saw that now they're going to have to, they're going to have to scheme for Parsons instead of him or Rashawn Gary. But something, these guys know the media attention, the spotlight is on. And if there's anything that makes you know that you're going to have to work even harder at your job, so you're not embarrassed, because like I say, you're on the national stage now, people.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world's watching. You better be giving it your best effort. And then I thought this was an interesting quote from an NFL coach who was talking about, week 1 and some of these teams, like the Dolphins, that just seem to be running out of gas, particularly in the second half.
I don't know that they showed up with any gas. They might have been out of gas when they arrived at the stadium.
Yeah, forgot to charge the car altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Lions looked like they were, huffing and puffing there in the third or fourth quarter against the Packers. And so, no doubt, you can run all these, and this goes back to this thing that Matt LaFleur said early in camp. He goes, I read this thing from the NFL that said you've got to put these players in these games and play them a quarter or two, because then your injuries will go down in the month of September. And this NFL coach today is saying the exact same thing. You can run all the gassers you want. You can be the best shape of your life. You can't play 4 quarters with 300-pound guys. You can be the best sprinter in your neighborhood, and you can't get a refrigerator out of your basement.
Yep.
Without some help.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like by the fourth quarter. That's what it feels like in the fourth quarter. So I said to Micah, I said, what do you think about it? I said, you got your sack in the fourth quarter, during 29 snaps. I said, is there some truth to that?
I just think about it. It's just mind over matter. I was tired as ever, but at the end of the day, you just got to want it a little bit more than that next guy, and I think that's just what it's about. And it's the determination, it's the will, it's the grunt. The push while you're tired. Because I told them, the other day when they were talking to me about the snap count, I was like, man, we can run gassers, we can be in practice, and you give me these plays, we can run to the ball. But I was like, at the end of the day, you gotta let me push through some things. You gotta let me get tired and get wore out there, so that way I can become better and get better from it. And that's when it was like, okay, your reps can go up. You gotta really sometimes you gotta fight for your own right to play. Even though they bring you in.
So he was in the game in the fourth quarter, and I don't know how many snaps, but it felt like there was a big handful of those snaps after it felt like the game had kind of been decided. I think the Packers coaches would have been well within their right to pull him off. I mean, if he didn't play a single snap in the fourth quarter, Mike, I think it would have made perfect sense. The fact that he was out there, me from hundreds of miles away just watching on my TV, I thought, oh, Micah must feel like something productive is coming from this. These are worthwhile reps to get him back into game shape, almost as if the fourth quarter of that game, Mike, became an extension of the preseason. Let's get Belton some reps in case he's got to play this week. Let's get Micah some more reps just to get him back into football shape. That was my read of it. Was that kind of clarified, or did you get that sense talking to him today?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what he said right there, but I wanted to add my 2 cents into that.
No, what last Wednesday or Thursday, he's got Jeff Hafley and his coaches saying, we don't want to push it with the back, but third quarter, the player is saying to you, the back is fine. Let me get these reps. Let me push these guys around. Let me get my conditioning done here in the fourth quarter. And at the same time, though, you started having your offensive linemen going down. Now, I haven't figured out the play, but Zach Tom did not participate in today's practice. He's got this hip injury.
And neither did Banks. Right? Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Banks has got an ankle. And suddenly you're down 2 starting offensive linemen. So I did get a chance to talk to Darian Kennard, the guy that they just smartly happened to give up a 6th-round pick for just a couple of weeks ago from the Eagles. He's only started 1 or 2 games in Philly, but he's behind perhaps the best offensive line in the National Football League. And here's a guy that's got some experience and certainly an improvement over the backup guys that you had last year when you started running on offensive linemen in the playoff game against the Eagles. So, Kennard is, he's looking at, he may have to start in this game, whether it's the left guard or the right tackle position. And then you saw Belton, the 2nd-round pick, the rookie, out there getting some snaps as well the other day. And, you've got Jordan Morgan, who's been going back and forth. So, already, through that game, they're saying, uh-oh. Now, I saw Zach Tom, though, on the exercise bike, trying to get back in, trying to get the circulation going on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's bad enough where they did some tests, and we don't know what the results of those yet. We're going to talk to LaFleur here in about 15 minutes, and we'll see if we get any updates on the progress of that situation. But all in that, these guys are flying, man. They feel really good about what they got on tape on Sunday, and they got a tough team coming in. By the way, remember last week I was saying, LaFleur, just in terms of, so is this Micah Parsons? Of course, the minute that, Goody opened up his door and said, hey, what do you think if I got you Micah Parsons? Like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But when LaFleur said, I asked him, I said, what about you concerned about the fit? I called around, I talked to some coaches, and I thought, who would that? Oh, yeah, Dan Quinn. He worked for Dan Quinn as the quarterback coach when they went to the Super Bowl with the Falcons and Matt Ryan. And then Dan Quinn was what? He was a defensive coordinator for the first 2 or 3 years with Mike McCarthy down there.
Mhm.
Now he's the head coach of the Commanders. Guess who is one of Dan Quinn's biggest fans? Micah Parsons, and we've got that on tape from this afternoon.
And I'll play you some of those cuts. Not you, Mike, but audience, listener. I will get to that in the next segment. Do you have 90 seconds real quick, Mike, for one more thing?
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
Mike Silver did a great job with Bill yesterday talking about kind of his outsider view, not about how Micah Parsons is impacting the team on the field, but the energy and the effect that move has had through the locker room and through the stadium yesterday. In your years of covering the team, where does Sunday's game rank in terms of atmosphere and energy? It just had to feel a little bit different even from other home openers, right?
I gotta give it. I'll give it some thought.
Okay.
Give me some time to think about it. But right off the top of my head, this is darn close to Reggie, man. This is darn close to Reggie White 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It really is. The only difference is Reggie had Favre.
Yeah.
Yeah, the receivers were so-so. The backs were serviceable, and Edgar Bennett and that group had a great offensive line. But when Reggie came, in terms of the leadership, and this is a different kind of leader, but the leader, it's unbelievable. This kid, this Micah Parsons, unbelievable what he's bringing to the party, and he's about 4 years younger than Reggie was when he came to Green Bay. That's the amazing thing about this deal and this huge contract that he signed.
I think some of the comments that you and your Packers beat friends have posted, those have gotten me just as excited as some of the things that he did on the field on Sunday when he's talking about Lucas Van Ness and how, hey, we're going to make sure he has his best year ever. I'm like, man, this is a guy who's excited to be maybe not in a new team, but to be free of the contract drama, to be at a place that obviously believes in him and wants to pay him. Like, that has to help. That has to be good for a player's mindset. And I think at least early on from things that I've heard, that's paying dividends. So we'll hear more from that in the next segment.
And I love to play, exciting talk, but this isn't pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to back it up. And I thought Sunday, number one, backed up all the hype in his performance. And it's not even so much the sack that he got or the hurries that he got. It's just to watch him work and like, oh my God, his speed is unbelievable.
Yeah.
In person, in a live situation against a good Lions offensive line, it's unbelievable. And you can just say, "Oh my God!" And as a reporter, as a guy just looking for an interesting story, the Dallas media must be in mourning this week,
right? And their team doesn't have drama. Their team might actually be better off. They actually looked fine in week one. I think the Cowboys will be pretty good, but for that story to walk out the door and for that character to walk out the door, no, you're
they had a bad turnover there by Sanders there in the second half that gave the ball to the Eagles. So, all right, I'm going to go down and cover LaFleur. Talk to you later, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. He's brought to us by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. We'll get to some of his Micah Parsons comments. Again, they spoke with players, Jordan Love, Micah Parsons, and others. Within the last hour or two, coaches are going to be closer to 5 o'clock. So I appreciate Mike kind of had a small window, and I may have like, do you got 10 minutes? Do you got 10 minutes? So we appreciate Mike. His audio, more commentary from Micah Parsons next, and your continued reaction if you have anything to say on last night's football game. I think it's endlessly interesting. More so on the Bears side. It's not to diminish what J.J. McCarthy did. I just don't know what to make of the Vikings yet. There was a lot of good, a lot of bad from J.J. McCarthy last night. I don't really know what to do with that. I know what to do with the Bears, and that is Caleb Williams is absolutely boning that franchise and those fans. So I'll give you more on that, more from Micah Parsons, and your calls next at 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
And we fire the moron coaches, and we bring in the best offensive mind in football. I mean, just the best play caller of the last 3 years at least, and he's the architect of everything. And our dick quarterback, who is too busy playing Call of Duty at 11 p.m. at night to get up in time for 5:30 a.m. voluntary practices, doesn't know how to set his feet properly on a 7-yard outbreaking route, up everything. That game was handed to us on a silver platter. The second Nashawn Wright picked off J.J. McCarthy and ran it in for a touchdown, that game should have been over. And this moron is still overthrowing some of the most basic throws in football. He is still taking some of the worst sacks I have ever seen. My God.
Personal news, personal development for me. I think I'm back in on Twitter Spaces. I stayed up an hour later than I should have last night because the game felt like it took forever. And maybe it was because of all the punts. Like maybe it was just a slow progressing Monday Night Football game last night. I don't know. Felt like it took a while. And then some friends in a Brewers group chat sent a link to a Twitter Space. Like, you guys have to listen to this. And it's Gus from the most controversial podcast. He's a Bears account at Double Doink. I mean, he did 2 15-minute spaces, and it's 30 minutes of some of the best sports commentary I've ever heard in my life. It's littered with profanity. So I spent 20 minutes today cutting some of my favorite parts and adding beeps. So we'll work that into the rest of the show. I mean, it's a complete and total crash out. It's excellent crash out material, but I also think he's right. Like, that was my takeaway from last night. And Bears fans, if you're listening, you're like, oh man, I don't need to hear it from a pay. I don't need to hear this from you. I am on your side. If I was a Bears fan, I'd be beside myself. My team built up the offensive line, hired the top guy on the market in Ben Johnson. The wide receiving core was already good. They drafted Luther Burden. We'll see how that works, but it's not like he's expected to be an addition right away. Like, they can phase him in slowly, as you would prefer to do with rookies. And they drafted this tight end too. What is it? Colson Loveland? Like, they've given him just about everything that you would want to give a top quarterback. They've tailored the thing to him, and he can't complete passes to the flat. Like, I would be losing my mind. Last night was important for Bears. Last night was important for Bears. It was important for the Bears and Bears fans in a way that I think Sunday was important for the Packers. Division rival, start of a new era. The Packers were starting the Micah Parsons era. I guess the Bears starting the Ben Johnson era. Like, that just felt so important, especially because the Vikings are starting a rookie quarterback who looked like he didn't know up from down. And I'm still not convinced he actually played that well, but he didn't have to. He just made a couple of throws. Caleb Williams just had to make a couple of throws. He didn't need to throw for 400 yards and do what Josh Allen did. He just needed to not blow. And he blew. So my reaction to last night, I'll take your thoughts on that. We'll hear a little bit more from Micah Parsons. Appreciate Mike Clemens joining us for a segment. Arif Hasan at 5 o'clock, wide left. We got a little bit of a loaded show tonight, if I do say so myself. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Eric on I-90. You might have your quarterback, J.J. McCarthy.
You were just kind of dissing him there. You didn't think he had a good game last
You
night. didn't think he had a good game.
I thought he was.
Talking about,
I mean, I thought he was horrible in the first half, and I thought he was fine in the second. I thought Kevin O'Connell was like, oh yeah, that's right. We can run the ball, which he sometimes forgets about, which got them in better positions. And then McCarthy made a couple throws, 100%.
He had one of the best fourth quarters in professional football.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah,
and then he ran it in.
I saw some of that.
It in.
Eye test doesn't back that up. I watched Josh Allen the other night, Eric, in the fourth quarter. Like, he finished strong. He finished strong. And that takes a lot of stones, takes a lot of huevos from a young man to start that badly and to get it back on the tracks. I don't know what to do with that yet. I am more interested in what the Bears did, but you are a Vikings guy, so your opinion matters a lot more than mine in this conversation.
I'm gonna say that fourth quarter wipes all other quarters of that game. I'll tell you what.
That's fine.
Fourth quarter wipes his entire NFL career off the board. All right. The first 3 quarters was his entire NFL career.
Correct.
Right? And the last quarter wipes all that off the board. And you were probably putting the final thing of dirt and throwing the skull pin in the grave on him at the end of the first half.
No, I didn't.
He came back and won
it. It was amazing, Eric. I was on Twitter last night. I didn't say anything. I was just watching. We're allowed to just watch a game without throwing takes out. And I saw a lot of people saying McCarthy sucks. When are they going to go to Carson Wentz? Are they going to trade for Kirk Cousins? I'm like, let's just see how the game ends. Because I don't know if you've paid attention for the last 100 years. The Bears aren't exactly good at this football thing. He started.
That's not the Vikings' fault.
And you're 100% right. Yep.
Right. Anybody who wants Carson Wentz or they got gingivitis is what I call it. Yeah. Don't go there. All right. You don't want that.
No, he's not the answer. Outstanding. Your wide receivers are going to get even healthier, Eric. Sorry to Irish goodbye you. I got 2 people waiting. Have a good night, Eric.
Gotta run.
You got to run. You have things to do. I'm not. Look, I just don't know what to do with what J.J. McCarthy did last night. And I saw, ESPN stats and info and people post things. J.J. McCarthy is the first quarterback to do this in the fourth quarter. I'm really impressed with the way that he bounced back after such a bad start. like, I watched Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in the fourth quarter the other night. So, like, don't throw historical precedent at me. I was very impressed. I'm going to need to see a little bit more. I don't need to see more at this moment in time with Caleb Williams. It was supposed to look so much better than that. So that's kind of where my analysis is aimed, but certainly not taking anything away from the Vikings and their rookie starter, their second year, but first year rookie starter, JJ McCarthy. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello. Line 2. I'm going to put you on hold. I'll come back. We got somebody on line 3 as well. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Hector in Alaska.
Hey, Hector, what's up?
Oh, I'm just coming out of the darkness, you know. I put all my Ravens stuff away. Can't even put it on. I got a Bucks hat on, Grant.
Yeah, you're a Ravens guy. Why does your team love blowing games that they shouldn't blow? I don't get it.
Because the desire to go for it on fourth down for John is only in do or die situations. It's like in the fourth quarter, we should go for it because you can run it down their throats like you have been all game. Or he's more like, you know, when the game's on the line, let's go for 2 instead of tying it up. And then Mark Andrews drops it on the goal line. But I digress. Yeah, it's disappointing. But I also am a Michigan fan. So
what is it with you? Ravens, Clippers, Michigans. I don't really get you, Hector, and that's fine.
We don't talk about the Clippers right now.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. But your Michigan perspective on JJ McCarthy, go ahead.
They ran the ball all the time. That's all Jim did.
Mm-hmm.
Give him a chance. He's going to be perfectly fine. When he needed to step up and throw the ball, he did pretty good. I think he's Brock Purdy with the ability to be prime Derek Carr.
Prime Derek Carr might be good enough for this Vikings team. Hector, I appreciate it. I don't know. I am not equipped to talk about JJ McCarthy today. I'm not equipped to tell you what I saw because I don't know what I saw last night. What I saw with the Vikings, which is unrelated to JJ McCarthy, is Kevin O'Connell realizing that, like, oh yeah, we could run the ball, couldn't we? Aaron Jones is good. We signed Jordan Mason to have some good depth this offseason because the Niners were like, nah, our guy's Christian McCaffrey never gets hurt. Why do we need Jordan Mason? Which made no sense. They cut their kicker today, by the way, finally, like a full year too late. It's funny, they were, let's give him one more week 1 before we ship him off. It's like, okay, all right, I suppose. John Lynch, genius, I am told. And a Hall of Famer before Leroy Butler, which was stupid. But like Hector, I digress. What I saw with the Vikings last night is a talented group of players on both sides of the ball, 2 talented coaches, one with a penchant for forgetting about the run game. Like Kevin O'Connell has a tendency to just say, throw it deep. Keep throwing it deep on the road. First ever start, Monday Night Football, throw it deep. And then he eventually realized, and some games he never realizes. Both of the playoff games that the Vikings have been in, they've both lost under Kevin O'Connell, and they never really remembered, could run the ball. That's an option. So that's what I saw from the Vikings last night. From JJ McCarthy individually, I don't know. We'll get a little bit better perspective from Arif Hasan, who's much smarter than I. He can kind of help us understand. We'll start there at 5 o'clock when Arif joins us, and we'll get his thoughts on then the Bears and then the Packers and the Lions. We'll do a little bit of an NFC North whip around with Arif coming up at 5:02. We'll have him right after Zach's update. So look forward to having Arif as always. Let's take a break, come back. A little bit of sound from Micah Parsons, continued reaction to Monday Night Football, and the conclusion of the first hour of the Wisco Sports Show after this.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Caleb Williams is spoiled. He's spoiled. He was treated as the savior since the second he arrived in the NFL. He was christened when he was 19, and it ruins his brain because now he thinks he doesn't have to work hard. Now he doesn't think that he has to develop anything that resembles a competent work ethic. I would have taken Mike Penix at 1 overall as opposed to what we got from this mother. This is a damn disaster. It is a disaster.
That's a little bit more from, again, I'm back into the Twitter spaces. This is going to be the fall and winter of Twitter spaces. It's from Double Doink on Twitter. It's Gus from the Most Controversial Podcast. Did 30 of the most awe-inspiring minutes in a Twitter space last night that I've ever heard. In fact, it might top anything that I've heard on any platform in any market of sports talk radio. I mean, that's like nothing I've ever heard.
This is a damn disaster. It is a disaster.
The inflection, the delivery is incredible. The content as well, but the delivery, to be able to have both.
This is a damn disaster. It is a disaster.
He was that bad. Arif Hasan is going to join us in about 5 minutes, and he'll help us kind of make sense of what we saw from J.J. McCarthy last night. Because Bears fans would tell you, and I've seen some of these tweets, it's like, well, McCarthy wasn't that great either. If Caleb Williams would have just played well, the Bears would have won. And I agree with that. I agree that if Caleb Williams just does the average of what you would expect him to do in a game like that, yeah, the Bears would have won. J.J. McCarthy also, after starting really poorly, was much better in the second half. I don't know how to quantify that. I don't know how to label what we saw from J.J. McCarthy last night. So we'll start with that with Arif Hasan, who's covered the Vikings. He's been with The Athletic. With the Sporting News. Now he does his own thing, Substack. It's Substack day on our network. We had Tyler Dunn earlier. We're going to have Arif Hasan in about 5 minutes. I can't believe Caleb Williams looked that horrible.
This is a damn disaster. It is a disaster.
We talked with Mike Clemens a little bit earlier in this hour. And if you missed, they had a chance to catch up with Micah Parsons, and I can give you a little bit more. He's always performed well against the Commanders. They talked about that a little bit. He got to see Jaden Daniels a couple of times as a member of the Cowboys. He talked about what makes him special and why he's so hard to stop.
Oh, man. It's hard. He's just one of them guys that, like, no matter what you could just try to contain the whole time. You could power him. He can go through the A and B gaps, get outside of you. It's hard. You know what I mean? I just think you just got to limit the explosives, make them earn it. And that's what we got to do on defense. Make them earn every first down, every big-time catch, hit them after they catch. Every read option, hit him, hit the running back. Everyone got to get hit every play. And just let them know, it's just got to go out there and play hard.
I talked with Mike. There were some questions. I think maturity is probably the best word. There were some questions that I had about okay, what's this guy's deal? He's got his podcast and he started a couple media fires with that, but is that his fault or is that just because the media is the way that it is? I don't know. I texted some people around the league. I'm not texting GMs, but people who cover teams and know people, know agents. What's Micah's deal? And he runs really hot. He's got a really high standard. He can get on guys. But from everybody that I talk to, it's but he walks the walk. It's well, I'll take the talk if you're also walking. I'll take that. I also think to get away from the contract drama, which was obviously something that was weighing on him. If you listen to him talk from this last weekend, he's I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I'm just happy to put that behind me and to be in an environment where that drama is gone. And it's clear that this team really values me and wants me. They paid me $1 bajillion. Stepping into that environment has to be a really nice feeling and a nice contrast from the place that he was, especially over the last year. I don't think Dallas was bad for him, but when you're embroiled in wanting a contract for that long, when you obviously deserve it, right, that would get frustrating. Here's Micah. This is 40 seconds to wrap up the hour on joining new teammates and being accepted and jumping right in here with a week before the season.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's easy to talk about it, and it's easy to, it's easy to just talk and you hear things or you see this guy doing it. But I think when you see a guy doing it every play and he's with you now, like I said, it's hard to come into a team where they had a training camp and they said these are guys and this is the starter and this is the starter and you kind of form those relationships to come in, and a guy who's not the highest paid player, you got to win the room. You got to earn guys' respect, not because of your pockets, because of what you acquire on the field. So I think, that's the most important thing. And, because, you could pay a guy a lot of money and not be worth anything. So I think for me, the most important thing is to prove what I'm worth on the field and as a teammate, so that way I can win these guys' respect.
Fans and media people, we talk a lot about, well, and they got to live up to that contract. They got to play up to that contract. And I think that's a little bit of maybe an outside talking point. I don't know that players are looking at their box score or going over their film and thinking, oh man, and I'm making $60 million this year. This isn't good enough. I think that's something that fans worry a bit more about. But I do want, even in a sense, larger than just the money. The money is one thing, but I hope Micah grasps, and he seems to through his comments over the last week, he seems to grasp this very firmly. The expectations and the belief and the stock that this organization and this fan base and this team has put into him, not to be the savior of everything, but to help be the final piece to get this unit over the top for a deep playoff run. I hope he grasps that. Separate from the contract. Well, I got to live up to the contract. Well, yeah, but I think that's more of a thing that fans and media talk about. This team obviously has a ton invested in you. And I'm glad that he grasps that and feels it. And I think the rest of the locker room will feel it as well.
This is a damn disaster. It is a disaster.
I love that drop so much. We're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll get a sports update from Zach Heilprin right on the other side of this update. No commercials, just the latest in Wisconsin sports. We'll come back with Arif Hasan, wide left. Very, very sharp football mind. We'll help kind of break down what he saw from J.J. McCarthy and then expand out to Caleb Williams and the rest of the NFC North, the Packers and the Lions in week 1 as well, with week 1 now fully in the books. Just a couple of days until week 2 with the Commanders. We'll be back. Hour number 2 with Arif Hasan starting next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin gearing up for its toughest task so far this season as they get ready to face number 19 Alabama in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. It'll be just the second game the Badgers have played in the state of Alabama and the first true road game against an SEC school in 53 years. Whether they'll have their starting quarterback remains to be seen. Billy Edwards Jr. missed last week's game against Middle Tennessee State with a knee injury. His status for Saturday up in the air, according to Coach Luke Fickell.
Yeah, I mean, he's throwing the ball around. He's here constantly getting treatments and things like that. I think it's going to be, where he really feels as we get later towards the week, whether it's, we're going to have to protect Billy from himself. I know that at some point in time, I don't know when that is, but he's a guy that's, going to be prepared and always wants to go.
If Edwards can't go, Danny O'Neal will get the start in his place. He threw for 283 yards and a pair of touchdowns last week in his first start. Kick is slated for 11 a.m. Turning to the Packers, it's a short week for them as they will host Washington on Thursday night at Lambeau Field. Injuries could play a big role for them, with 13 players on the first injury report yesterday, including a pair of starting offensive linemen. Kick on Thursday night is set for 7:15.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers and Rangers will face off again tonight in Texas. The Rangers took the first game last night in a shutout. Despite that, Brewers' magic number to clinch the NL Central is now down to 11. First pitch tonight is set for 7:05. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil-Prin.
Caleb Williams is spoiled. He's spoiled. He was treated as the savior since the second he arrived in the NFL. He was christened when he was 19, and it ruins his brain because now he thinks he doesn't have to work hard. Now he doesn't think that he has to develop anything that resembles a competent work ethic. I would have taken Mike Penix at 1 overall as opposed to what we got from this mother. This is a damn disaster. It is a disaster.
I'm fully back in. Last night did it. It's been a couple years. I think I'm a Twitter space guy again. Last night was absolutely incredible. I cut so much sound from this Twitter space. It's Gus from the Most Controversial Podcast, but he's a good Bears account at Double Doink. I cannot believe how entertained I was. And it's not even Schadenfreude. It's not like, oh yeah, the Bears suck. Listen to Bears fans. I am enjoying a fellow football fan losing their mind at a player who I agree. Like, I don't think Caleb Williams is holding up his end of the bargain. It's hour number 2. We'll get back to Micah Parsons and the latest from Green Bay earlier today, their truncated schedule playing on Thursday Night Football. But joining us now is Arif Hasan. His Substack is Wide Left. We had Tyler Dunn on the midday show today, so we're doing a Substack tour. Some great guests today. Arif, I want to talk about Caleb Williams, but I want you to help us understand what we saw from J.J. McCarthy last night, because I'm very impressed how he got it back on the rails and was able to win that game. I don't know how to quantify or describe that type of performance. So can you help us and for my listeners who are Vikings fans try to understand what we saw?
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty difficult to quantify or qualify that in performance overall because it was night and day, right? But I think what basically just happened is that everyone kind of found themselves. And I know that sounds like really wishy-washy. And so in my piece covering it, I did kind of, concretize what that means. And for me, that was that the Kevin O'Connell offense was really careful and conservative at the beginning of the game. And it wasn't working for anybody. They wanted some easy completions from McCarthy. He got anything but. He wasn't seeing the field the same way that offense is designed. So after the pick 6, they opened it up. He was throwing it further downfield. The receivers are going further downfield. They're the concepts that we're used to seeing as Vikings fans. And he was operating the offense, right? And he was really comfortable within that. But also, obviously, in order for him to come back from that pick 6, really resilient. And so for me, the way I described this earlier was there are a million elements to quarterback evaluation, a ton of tiny little traits that we're trying to tease out and figure out. And at different moments in a quarterback's career, we'll figure out where they stand on that trait. The piece will click. And for most of those traits, we're not going to find out for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Sometimes they'll change. We all know about Josh Allen, but that's also true for like Lamar Jackson. In some senses, it's still true for Patrick Mahomes. I think for J.J. McCarthy, one of those traits just kind of clicked in. Doesn't mean he's going to be a good quarterback, right? But I think our understanding of him as a character guy, a leader guy, right? Like a leader, as somebody who has the ability to maintain poise in essentially every sense of the word, right? Whether that is in pocket pressure, whether that is in the moment, Monday Night Football, your debut, a ton of pressure on you. The team had just won 14 games without you. Now it's on you. The fact that you had to engineer a comeback, the fourth quarter stuff, like any element that you can introduce pressure into the situation, aside from it actually being the Super Bowl. And mind you, this guy's already won 2 national championships, once
You're
in
right.
high school, once in college, right? He, I think, succeeded, right? Not every quarterback with poise is good. We don't know if JJ McCarthy is good yet, right? But I'm pretty confident he has at least poise. We'll see if he has all these other things that are required to make a quarterback good. But I think he's got poise. And I think that that's a really great element to have confirmed this early in his career.
Yeah, and I think a testament to Kevin O'Connell and others on that staff too. Now, the Bears allowed that game to stay in a place, like they left the door open for that to happen. Why did Caleb Williams look so bad? Like, I don't think their O-line is incredible, and I don't think they have like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but I think the Bears have created an environment now, especially with Ben Johnson, where like I think you can say most of the boxes, the surrounding boxes have been checked around Caleb Williams, and he looked awful. So explain why. I don't get it.
Yeah, when you take a look at like number one quarterbacks throughout the years, and you take a look at maybe reasons that they're struggling, right? Reasons that maybe midway through their rookie season, fans are saying, no, it's not his fault, right? We're all very familiar with that. And they very often point to things like pass protection. They point to the, supporting cast in terms of receivers. They'll often point to the coaches, and very often they're correct. It is important for a quarterback to have that kind of environment. Well, what's the minimum standard for all of the elements that I described for us to kind of say, well, we can't really use that as an excuse for why that guy is struggling to the degree that he's struggling. Wherever that standard is, I think the Bears have essentially met or surpassed that standard on offense in every respect. I think our understanding that we don't know if the coaching is any good, promoting hot coordinators into head, we don't know. But our understanding of that head coach as a coveted head coach, that's up there, and it's your second shot at the head coach. So that's all you get, right?
Right.
The offensive line, I think, is pretty good. Braxton Jones played better than I thought. Joe Tooney, the entire interior is reoriented. Darnell Wright's actually not a bad right tackle, honestly. So that's a pretty decent offensive line. Like you said, not the best in the world, but nobody gets the best in the world, right? Like you get just one every year, and it's a different guy. So it's a pretty good offensive line. And then that's a good receiver core. Now, in the NFC North, we're kind of spoiled when it comes to receiver cores. But I think anybody can take a look and say, hey, that might not be the same DJ Moore that we saw in Carolina, but he's still very good. Hey, Rome Odunze still has a couple more steps before he is an elite highlight. Whatever. None of that matters. They're good players. They perform well. And when you take a look at the all 22 on the film, they're getting open, right? And so that's not the issue. So whatever the issue is, it's either Caleb Williams, which seems pretty likely given what we know, or it's the coaching staff, either or. But I don't think it's the supporting cast, right? It could be, and by coaching staff, that could be the way they interact with the player. It could be kind of their ability to directly coach. It could be the way they game plan. It could be the offensive scheme. There's a million things it could be when I say coaching staff, right? But whatever it is, it's not the supporting cast. And to me, I think it's likely that it's Caleb Williams, not just because of some of the excellent reporting that we saw from Ty Dunn at the Go Long Substack, which I think really kind of elucidates some of the problems when it comes to Caleb Williams' ability to implement a new offense and learn it and lead a team, alongside him, right? Sure. But I think also you take a look at the plays that are called and what Caleb Williams would do on those plays. So not only is he missing open receivers in areas where you would expect that progression. We don't know what the progression is, but we have a good idea sometimes, and he's not following those, right? It's also that, well, here's an interesting stat. Up until, I think, midway through the second quarter, he completes a 9-yard pass to DJ Moore for a first down. Up until that moment, the only times he ever threw the ball on time was to a receiver at or behind the line of scrimmage. Every other time that he was throwing on time, it was like a screen. Every other time he was throwing past the line of scrimmage, it was him scrambling. It was him buying time. It was him doing extra stuff. Very often, not that he needed to. And what that tells us is that he's not operating within the confines of the offense. That could be the offense's fault. It could be his fault, right? But what we know based off of that evidence is that he's not operating within the confines of the offense. And as the Vikings ramped up the pressure, so in the first quarter, they had a 6% blitz rate. In the first half, they had a 25% blitz rate. If you know anything about the Vikings, that is incredibly low. Yeah. They led the league last year with a 44% blitz rate. And then the year before that, they led the league with a 60% blitz rate. Just obscene psycho stuff, right?
Yeah.
In the second half, they had a 55% blitz rate. And in the second half was when Caleb Williams collapsed. And I think those things are related because they sped Williams up. Williams was making explosive plays when he could buy time in the pocket. And when they wouldn't let him do that, when they were like, hey, this coverage stuff, it doesn't matter. If he gets 3 seconds, it doesn't matter if we got 8 guys in coverage, 7 guys in coverage. So we're just going to send 5. We're going to send 6. We love sending 6. And he's not going to have time. He's going to have to get rid of the ball or take a sack. And that's exactly what happened. He got rid of the ball or he took a sack. And those plays were not appearing for him in the second half. So, I mean, he just needs to operate the offense. There's one guy in the NFL I trust to beat a Brian Flores defense, and it's the head coach of the Chicago Bears, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird because everyone said, well, the scripted plays at the beginning went so well. And I saw you tweet about this today. It was right on. That first drive went well, but the biggest play of that drive was him like doing the Rodgers to Jared Cook thing where it's like, I'm going to like shift the line and then roll to my right. And like, it's not like he was even in those scripted plays or what you'd expect to be the scripted plays, like really running the offense.
Right.
Do you think the Bears do you think they'll finish above 500 this year?
No, I
don't think so.
Yeah,
you don't think there will be some dramatic moment where it clicks and all of a sudden it makes sense between quarterback and coach?
I think there's a decent chance that happens. I think it happens too late.
Okay. Interesting. Well, then what is it then? It's like, all right, well, then next year is the year. Is that what happens?
Yeah, and that's just enough to buy you a year again, right? It's insidious, right? Like the way quarterback development works. Yeah.
Oh, that would be the worst if I'm a Bears fan. Arif Hasan is here. His Substack is wide left. It's really, really good. What did you think? Well, let me ask you this way. So the Packers look really good. That game meant the world to them on Sunday. They should have showed up and looked that like they did. What was your projection or thought for the 2025 Packers before Micah Parsons arrived, and how did it change after he arrived and after you saw them on Sunday?
I thought they were probably an 8-9 win team, kind of like the Vikings, honestly, which I think most books were kind of putting them in the same spot anyway. I thought the Vikings might be a little bit better. I've got a lot of faith in Kevin O'Connell. I'm in Minnesota. I'm just going to be biased, right? But I that was kind of my take. But the Parsons stuff terrified me, right? Because and I wrote a piece. I was just like, this is I think meteoric for the division. But the Parsons stuff was big for me because I think the Packers are, in my view, the Packers were not that far away from that defense becoming effective, not becoming devastating, which we did actually see, but becoming effective. And I think that you add somebody with the ability of somebody like a Micah Parsons, and you start enabling all these other pieces. That's kind of what I thought would happen, and it happened way more to a greater degree than I had envisioned. And I was like, yeah, you have these two pieces. And Xavier McKinney is just going to go off. And finally, you've got a back end, you've got a front end, you've got a defense. You don't have the Denver defense, you don't have the Vikings defense, you don't have the Eagles defense, but you have a defense. But I think it's a better spot than you were before. And that defense has a little bit more versatility to it, which I think was an issue with the defense last year. It looked versatile, but it wasn't. It always ended up kind of in cover 2 at the end of the day. So that's kind of where it was. And I thought that the Packers offense was very volatile, right? And this has been my take forever, right? That Jordan Love is a very high ceiling, low floor quarterback. And he hasn't coached himself, or Matt LaFleur hasn't coached out that low floor. You're going to get some games where he's just going to throw up some clunkers. And without like 5-6 consecutive games of good data where he's playing well, it's difficult for me to shed that take. So I don't know if the Packers offensively did anything to change my mind. But I think that defensively they did a lot. And I think, a lot of people are asking, well, does this mean the Lions are worse than we thought or the Packers better than we thought? And of course, the answer is probably a little bit of both. But I think primarily the Packers are better than we thought. I thought that the pass rush performance was outstanding.
And I was going to ask you next. I think people are beating up on the Lions quite a bit. We won't know because we don't really know. We need to see more from those coordinators and how some of those new starters on the O-line kind of slide into place. But where do you envision the Lions ending up at their best this season?
I think that they're going to resolve some of these issues, but I was really surprised to see Aiden Hutchinson taken care of. And if it was just Zach Tom taking care of Aiden Hutchinson, I would have been like, that makes sense. He's very good. And, maybe the matchup's not good or whatever, right? But they were moving Aiden Hutchinson around. And he got like 2 pressures by the end of the game, right? Now, that's not to say the Packers offensive line performed outstandingly in every respect. I thought there were a lot of mistakes. Aaron Banks, I think, is probably the area where we could do kind of the most evaluation. But primarily, I think that the Lions underperformed in a lot of ways that I don't super expect them to continue doing it. But the concern, of course, they lost both coordinators, right? And they lost some of the supporting staff that go with those coordinators as well. And I think that there's a reasonable argument to be made that it could be the case that Aaron Glenn was more important to the Lions than Ben Johnson. And that's not to undermine how important Ben Johnson is to the functioning of that offense. But to me, though the offense was very tepid, right? It was very mediocre. The results were probably worse for the offense than the defense for the Lions last week. But the process was more concerning to me for the defense for this Lions team because it was very stale. It was very easy to exploit. And it was very slow to adapt to what was happening. The Packers were exploiting a bunch of single high coverage, and the Lions weren't really getting out of that. And I didn't really understand why, especially when you've got, versatile players like Bryant Branch and Kirby Joseph, right? Like it feels like you could do a lot more with that. And so I'm wondering if maybe there's a coaching, concern here where they're not developing their internal replacements for coaches as quickly as they might need to. And that would be where my concern is. But fundamentally, I think that the players are talented. And so I expect the Lions to kind of rebound. But I think given how much that offensive line struggled, and especially players I didn't expect to struggle like Taylor Decker, I think maybe we can revise our holistic expectations for the offense in total, because that offensive line is genuinely concerning in a way that like maybe Aiden Hutchinson's performance is not. I think he'll be fine, right? But that offensive line, Taylor Decker didn't play well. A lot of those replacements along the interior didn't play well. Kind of losing Frank Ragnow to retirement, it's going to be huge. So I would ratchet down the expectations for the Lions after that game. I might ratchet up the Packers' expectations a little bit. Certainly, add a 1.5 or whatever to the Vegas total. It's an interesting division. I think it's collapsed the range of outcomes in the division from like the Lions are definitely gonna be the favorites, and then it's a race for 2 to maybe it's a 3-way race for first, and then the Bears get to see if they're going to torture their fan base a little bit more.
And the schedule is difficult. 60 seconds lastly, I'm keeping you too long, but you're very sharp. You're analytically driven. I don't want to label you in a way that you think is unfair, but I'm interested for your kind of take on Dan Campbell and the level of coach he is. Minus now his coordinators, because that's been a big talking point.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that eggheads like me get too caught up in like fourth down decision making and optimal play calling and stuff like that. That's the least important element of coaching. So to me, your ability to get players to buy in, your ability to recruit talent, your ability to develop those players, your ability to develop a game plan, all of those are way more important. And to me, Dan Campbell is an outstanding coach. And it just happens to be the case that his approach to coaching emotionally aligns with a lot of our analytically driven desires for what a good coach will do, especially on fourth down. That helps, right? But I think that I would rather have a team that doesn't go for it on fourth down, that has a consistent philosophy, than a team that does go for it on fourth down, but does it without conviction, which is maybe the least egghead thing I'll say all day. But that's important. You have to have a team buy in, and the Lions play as if they have 4 downs on every series, and that's critical, and that's a huge element of advantage that they have because of the coach that they have. So I think Dan Campbell's an outstanding coach, and he just isn't the kind of guy that I would envision as being an outstanding coach. And I think that that's awesome. That's one of the cool things about football.
So I agree. That was my thought. It's like, well, and that's what kind of makes the sport cool. Well, we'll continue to read your stuff at Wide Left. Arif, thank you for your very sharp analysis and helping us kind of contextualize week 1 in the North. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for having me.
Arif Hasan subscribed his work. Again, it's kind of Substack Day on our network. We had Tyler Dunn earlier. Tyler Dunn, the middle of a firestorm again. I like how he described, well, I like a lot of things that he said, but I like how he described what we were seeing from Caleb Williams last night, which was the play call is coming in, the protection's good enough, the guys are getting open, and for whatever reason, the ball isn't ending up where it's supposed to end up. And you can kind of narrow down, okay, why is that? Well, we can cross this off, we can cross that off, we can cross this off. The play isn't getting communicated well, the play's not being heard by Caleb Williams, or once the ball is snapped, the play's not being executed by Caleb Williams. And that's kind of, it's one of the things I like about Arif. It's like, well, why did Caleb Williams look so crappy? It's like, well, let's go down the list of things that it could be and cross all the things off that we know it's not. And we're left with 2 or 3 things, and most of them hang on the shoulders of Caleb Williams. Again, I can't believe how bad he looked. If I was a Bears fan, I would be out of my gourd today.
This is a disaster. It is a disaster.
That I have more sound from that. I'm just going to continue to work that into the show because it's absolutely hilarious. We'll get to more thoughts on the Packers, injury updates to the O-line, more comments from both Jordan Love and Micah Parsons. Mike Clemens was nice enough to really push those over this afternoon, so we'd have it for the show. He is listening to the coaches and the coordinator speak right now, and I'll get back to your phone calls on the other side of this break, too. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
You know what? Really, the most insightful bit from that Tyler Dunn piece is there's a little bit. I think it's at the end of part 1, and it is after the season has collapsed, and Thomas Brown is the interim head coach, and he sits Caleb down and he says, "Look, you will get a mulligan for this year. You will get a mulligan for this year because everyone is going to blame the coaching staff, and everyone is going to blame the dysfunction that Eberflus and Waldron brought in. But if you this up again next year, it will be on you, and people will blame you, and people will hold you accountable instead of blaming Eberflus and blaming Waldron and blaming Ryan Bates or Chris Morgan or whoever the." And Caleb heard that and learned nothing. He learned nothing.
This performance art really, I've just been soaking up this Bears Twitter space since last night. I'm back into the Twitter space game. Fall's a little busy, with NFL games on all the time, and the Brewers are playing every night. But I tell you what, we get into January, February, where really all we have is, a couple Bucks games a week. I think I'm going to be hitting the spaces hard. I think we're going to get the crew back together this week. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter at Wisco Grant. That last guest, Arif Hasan, joining us. Very much appreciate Arif's time. Always kind of helps us contextualize week 1 around the NFC North. And you can follow him on Twitter at Arif Hasan NFL. Duckin Holman says, just play that on loop, Grant. Yeah, there's a couple amazing drops out of this rant. I really like the end of that last one where he's yelling about how he learned nothing.
Nothing. He learned nothing.
It's incredible. I wish one of my teams would make me this angry. It's been a while. The Brewers have gotten close. But until they blow up a playoff game, if they blow a playoff game like they did last year. Although if they do that, I'll just be sad. like I won't be able to get myself up to be angry like that if the Brewers blow another playoff game the way that they did last year.
This is a damn disaster. It is a disaster.
I mean, that's true. That much will be true. He learned nothing.
And Caleb heard that and learned nothing. He learned nothing.
Your phone call's welcome. We can kind of circle now back to the Packers. 608-321-1670. Micah Parsons meeting with the Packers media earlier today. Jordan Love as well. And we can kind of pick through this. Micah Parsons talked about joining his new teammates. I gave you that. This I found to be interesting. He was asked about the fourth quarter and being tired in the fourth quarter. What I want to play. Pushing through, not being in football shape already, and then playing snaps into the fourth quarter. I feel like Matt LaFleur could have pulled him at halftime, and it probably would have been fine. I feel like he certainly could have pulled him to start the fourth quarter, and it would have been fine. And yet Micah Parsons is out there playing snaps in the fourth. I saw Zach tweeting about it. This is Micah Parsons talking on the idea that you don't really know whether you're in football shape or not yet until that first game and really until the second half of that first game.
I just think about it. It's just mind over matter. I was tired as ever, but at the end of the day, you just got one a little bit more than that next guy, and I think that's just what it's about. And it's the determination, it's the will, it's the grunt. To push while you're tired. Because I told them, the other day when they were talking to me about the snap count, it's like, man, we can run gassers, we can be in practice, and you give me these plays, we can run to the ball. But I was like, at the end of the day, you gotta let me push through some things. You gotta let me get tired and get wore out there, so that way I can become better and get better from it. And that's when it was like, okay, your reps can go up. You gotta really sometimes you gotta fight for your own right to play. Even though they bring you in.
I thought watching the game at home, seeing Micah Parsons still out there in a game that was decided. Again, Micah Parsons could have been shut down after halftime. Probably would have been fine. Certainly after the third quarter. And yet Hafley was out there. Hafley coordinating. Micah Parsons, the one still out there. Thank you. My read on it and my thought process was Micah probably told the coaches, look, I'm getting back into football shape. These are reps that I can use. Almost as an extension of the preseason, right? I didn't get to play it all in the preseason. I've been missing training camp because of this contract dispute. Let me get some work in. I know I don't need to be out there. Let me go sweat and breathe hard and kind of continue to work myself back into it. That's what my read was from 100 miles away on my couch. I was just thinking that Micah Parsons probably wanted to stay in. I bet the Packers coaches would have come to him and said, all right, that's enough for you today. And Micah probably said, look, I can get some work. I could use some work. I've been on the shelf now for the last couple of weeks. And I feel like that kind of came through in that answer where he's talking about it's the idea of getting tired and getting exhausted. It's the experience of being a football player, right? I'm experiencing what it is to be a football player, which is getting tired in the third and the fourth quarter and feeling a little beat up, especially later into the game in the third and the fourth quarter. So that bit of audio kind of cleared up for me or crystallized a little bit for me, maybe what I suspected during the fourth quarter watching on Sunday. And Mike did a pretty good job hinting at that as well. 608-321-1670. Let's go back to the phone calls. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Louie in Eau Claire.
I knew it, Louie. I could recognize the hum of your car. I think I told you that last week. What's going on?
Well, I'm just jumping on, so I don't know if you already covered this or not, but after the game on Sunday, LaFleur, he was asked about Parsons' snap counts, and he's like, yeah, I think he played more than we wanted to. I'll have to investigate that. That's a good question.
That's right. Yep.
That could be exactly what the correct answer is, but to me, it sounded like, well, aren't you the coach of the team? And I know the position groups, I'm sure a lot of the snaps are up to them. But even if that is the answer, and he doesn't know why he played that many snaps, wouldn't you say something to the effect of, yeah, he may have been out there a few more plays than we wanted to, but he was feeling good and just make up something.
Yeah.
But the whole, I have to investigate why that happened. Well, if you're not sure why your $47 million player is playing, if there was a different plan in place, shouldn't that have triggered something during the game?
Yeah.
Like I said, I like LaFleur, and I feel like I have to preface that every time. But it's things like that make me kind of go, aren't you the warden of this prison? Shouldn't you kind of know what's going on?
Yep.
You know, we're not asking why, you know, Chris Brooks played, you know, 8 snaps instead of 5. We're asking why the guy you just paid $50 million a year and gave up 2 first-round picks with a supposedly bum back is playing, and you're not sure why he is. That kind of like twinged me like, huh, what?
So it would twinge me as well, except I feel like he had to be on board, right? I feel like he was just kind of saying something to say something in a press conference. And I pulled the audio up here, so when we're done chatting, Louis, I want to listen to it again because that was kind of funny. I hope that Matt LaFleur at least had a little conversation with somebody on the sideline. Like, are we sure we still want Mike out there? Are we sure? And it was probably communicated quickly and maybe the conversation ended. But I'm with you, and it goes back to that Bears game in week 17 last year, week 18, Louis, where he didn't know Brandon McManus's range. It's like, man, Rich Bisaccia is right there. He's with you on the sideline. And so that's kind of in my mind perpetually now ever since week 18. That really scarred me with Matt LaFleur, Louis.
It did to me too, and that could be the complete truth, is that he didn't know or you know, investigate, or he didn't know McManus's range. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
Like, you know, NFL coaches are not the purveyors of truth here. They'll say anything about anything. You know, oh yeah, he was a little bit banged up. Well, meanwhile, his leg severed off. Yeah, he's banged up. He's day to day.
It's fluid.
I just don't get. I just don't get, like, why can't you make up something on the fly that sounds a little bit more coordinated or a little bit more together? Like, that's just kind of
something more coordinated than, I don't know. I'll have to get into that. I'll have to investigate that. Matt, you're the coach of the team. You're the head coach of the team. You're not some intern who's put on a side project. Louis, I appreciate it. Have an awesome night. I think this is the question and answer here from LaFleur. I think it's like 2 minutes into his post-game presser. I don't have the cut, but I have the full thing. I think this is it.
I don't know. It was, I think, 30 snaps, maybe somewhere in there. Was that higher than you would have guessed, or that you were shooting for coming in? Were you okay with that?
Yes, it's definitely higher than what we anticipated.
So how come, why did the number get so high, you think?
It's a great question. I'll have to investigate.
He got a ton of those snaps on their final possession. So was that, did you feel good about how much he had left in the tank that you guys were able to do that with it?
I could tell, like, he looked like he was gassing a little bit. So that's when we took him out. And you really wanted to end the game right there. And we had a couple opportunities. They converted a couple 4th downs. And obviously that was a hell of a catch by Tesla on the touchdown. But yeah, we wanted to end the game prior to that, obviously. Just couldn't get it done.
I suppose. Yeah, okay. Well, we wanted to end the game, and they probably thought Micah Parsons obviously would be a help in doing that. Again, I think Micah Parsons wanted to be tired. I think he wanted to go through those progressions. He wanted to experience what it is to be a football player. You get tired in the 3rd and the 4th quarter. And as a player, you manage that and you deal with it and you work your way back into shape so you can best deal with it and best manage it. And for someone who missed a lot of training camp, really the full training camp, certainly didn't play in any preseason games, I thought that was an opportunity if he was in a place where he felt like he could use the opportunity. I thought Micah Parsons might have been in the place where it's like, man, I'm gassed. I can't keep doing this. That seemed equally as likely to me as what we got. But I think at the end there, it turned into a little bit of an extended preseason for somebody like Anthony Belton. It's like, let's get him some reps because God only knows if Banks and Zach Tom are going to be able to play on Thursday on a short week, and get a chance for Micah Parsons to get out there and to run through some paces, right? Almost like a qualifying lap the day before a race. Like we got to get the car out there and, get a sense of how the track is playing and how the car is driving and all those things. 608-321-1670. More of your phone calls on the other side of this break. The show brought to you by Inn on the River. It's about to be the prettiest time of year, and it might just be my favorite time of year to be outside. In fact, I was calling around yesterday, or texting. You don't care. It doesn't make a difference. About some spots. I always map out the last couple of weeks of fly fishing. The season runs through the end of through I guess mid-October. And I'm like, all right, what's the last weekend? I want to set that aside. I'm going to, figure out my plans. It's the best time of year as the leaves start to change. And if you've never experienced that on the western side of the state, you get down by the Mississippi River, beautiful place to stay, Inn on the River. inontheriverwi.com, right in the heart of downtown Trempealeau. It's right across the street from the Mississippi, and it's a spot on the Mississippi above La Crosse. This is true below La Crosse as well, when you get above or below town, where the river really gets wide and the view is just spectacular. And you can see the bluffs and the hills on the other side, and the marina's right there. So if you're bringing a boat, you want to do some late season fishing, Perot State Park, Trempealeau Mountain Golf, El Morro Vineyard, right up the way. There's a couple of orchards, and the name of the closest one isn't coming to mind, but that's not fine. It's not a commercial for them. It's a commercial for In on the River. So give them a call, 608-534-7784. Go to inontheriverwi.com. They have a Facebook page as well. You can reach out that way and say, yeah, we want to come hike Perot for a weekend, and we're going to bring the boat, and they'll help you get everything set and organized. Sullivan Supper Club right down the street. You can walk there. Trempealeau Mountain across the road. You can walk over there, enjoy the live music and the food. Plenty to do. And again, we're getting to be now the prettiest time of year. So make sure you make a reservation and go over there to enjoy Trempealeau and the surrounding area. And if you want to drive down to La Crosse and do that for an afternoon, it's like 25 minutes. 25, 30 minutes. It's all right there. InOnTheRiverWI.com. More of the Wisco Sports Show and more of your phone calls next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. Sports Show will resume in seconds.
Yeah, that's the cool stuff. You know, I think when you love something, you're like passionate to learn about it. You're like, oh my God, what else can you throw at me? Like, what else can we do from this formation? If we're showing this pressure, what does it look like from the other pressures? How can we utilize this guy for this scenario? So, you know, you get to play with the pieces on the board. It's like a new game for me, and I always embrace that. You know, I think that's like fun. It's challenging. It's unique. Because every team is different. So you're like, how do we match up on this? Or will you be good on this? Should I run this game and you take my spot? Like, give up this rush so I can have success later. And that's what the team is about.
Every Micah Parsons soundbite is a good one. He's an interesting interview. He's not boring at all. And Mike said when he joined us in hour number one, played a couple of these cuts, he's like, man, the Dallas media must be in mourning. Although, let's be real, the Dallas media gets to interview Jerry Jones. Like, he's lighting fires in the media all the time. So I guess the rich become a little bit less rich, but I think the rich in Dallas, the media, they're covering the team, getting quotes and getting stories, probably still doing pretty well. I'll continue to take your calls, your thoughts on Micah Parsons, anything going on with the Packers, and then what we saw last night with Monday Night Football, kind of rounding out not just week one, but our first impressions of the NFC North. And I think Arif Hasan, who joined us earlier this hour, did a pretty good job describing how I think the results for the North are going to be a bit truncated this year. The team that wins the North might win 11 games. You guys, if you told me right now the Packers are winning 11 games this year, I would lock that in so fast. I'm in. I'll take an 11. That would be an 11-6 season. I'd take it. 12-5 would be a little bit greedy, but I would certainly take that as well. There's not going to be teams that win 15 and 14 games in this division. At least I don't think. The divisional pairings and the matchups get much more difficult this year. Instead of the AFC South, you're getting the AFC North, which means Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Rodgers and the Steelers, who looked pretty good in week one. I don't think the Steelers are winning that division, and I don't think they're a real live wire Super Bowl contender. But, you know, for a Sunday night football game in Pittsburgh, that's certainly a much more difficult game to win than a noon game at home against the Colts or even against the Texans, who maybe at some point we need to talk about CJ Stroud, because I don't know what's going on there. It's been interesting to follow the Texans as kind of the Packers' AFC counterpart after CJ Stroud really lit it up as a rookie and took his team to the playoffs, and then Jordan Love did so as well, mostly in the latter portion of that season. But it seems like these two teams, their fortunes or their progressions, I guess, have been aligned. And it's interesting to see how the Texans are doing one thing, the Packers are doing another. They did not look good against the Rams. And I think the Rams are going to be great. They're my pick to go to the Super Bowl. We talked about that with Bill on Friday last week. We did our picks. I think the Rams are a real team to make the Super Bowl if Matt Stafford's spine doesn't snap at some point this season. But even though I believe in the Rams, who don't play anyone in the preseason, so what does week one even mean? Even though I believe in the Rams, I don't know. I don't know about the Texans. I don't know about CJ Stroud. But I find it interesting now with the North, everyone playing much more difficult schedules. I think the Packers have gotten better. I think the Bears have gotten better, but that's not because they looked awesome last night. That's because they were so bad last year. The Lions come back down to earth a little bit. I think the Vikings will probably be a similar quality team. But what did they win last year? 13, 14 games? I don't think any team in the North is winning more than 12. I think the range of outcomes has been compressed. It's been limited. I think the bottom dweller in this division still might win 8 games, and the top dog in this division, I think, will probably top out at 12, maybe 13. If one of these teams, like if the Packers really are all that in a bag of chips, then maybe. But I would even 13 wins would floor me. 11 would make me very happy. 12 would blow me away. 13 would just be insane. So I think the range of outcomes for everybody in the team or everybody in the North in this division is going to be pretty significantly scrunched. I'm not going to be able to give you this audio because of the way that the PC is configured. I'm not able to feed this into the live stream. Reese Hoskins is speaking with the media, and I'll read you this quote from Adam McKelvey. You can find the video's been tweeted out. Kurt Hogue and others have it. But Reese Hoskins has been brought back up now, and this is him talking about his role. Quote, they're probably going to roll with the guys that have been out there, as they should. My role will be a little bit more limited, at least for what I'm accustomed to. But I told Murph and those guys, I'm ready for whatever you have for me. Reese Hoskins being a good guy, great teammate, and I think he's always been that, but that approach weirdly makes me feel different about what he could add to this team. If he's playing every day, not a huge fan. If he's a platoon guy, pinch hitter for certain matchups, I like that a lot more. Again, we've kind of been chasing the idea of Reese Hoskins. Well, the idea is a trustworthy bat in the postseason, good bat off the bench, big moment guy. It's like, yeah, that theory, that idea is great. I don't think we've seen it play out yet. This mentality, this attitude might be exactly what Reese Hoskins needs, and it would certainly be what the Brewers need, right? A power bat, a home run threat to come in who's been there, done that in the postseason before, with opportunities to come in and contribute. That I like, and it's a good approach. I'm all the way on board with this. Some final thoughts off of the text line and off of the live stream, and a couple of more sound bites from the Packers locker room earlier today. And I'll give you one last update on the injury report so we kind of know where we stand going into Thursday Night Football. But again, a couple open phone lines so you can grab them if you want for the final segment coming up next. I'll break a little bit early so we have some extra time. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
And we fire the moron coaches, and we bring in the best offensive mind in football. I mean, just the best play caller of the last 3 years at least. And he's the architect of everything. And our dip quarterback, who is too busy playing Call of Duty at 11 p.m. at night to get up in time for 5:30 a.m. voluntary practices, doesn't know how to set his feet properly on a 7-yard outbreaking route, up everything. That game was handed to us on a silver platter. The second Nashawn Wright picked off J.J. McCarthy and ran it in for a touchdown, that game should have been over. And this moron is still overthrowing some of the most basic throws in football. He is still taking some of the worst sacks I have ever seen. My God.
Oh, it's some of my favorite audio in a while. Not because I take pleasure in Bears fans' misery. I'm kind of numb to it. Bears fans, when was the last time Bears fans have been happy? I know they won in week 17 or week 18 last year. Who cares? Packers weren't playing starters. Matt LaFleur, as Bill would say, got a little case of cranius rectus invertus. Should I take a timeout? No, Matt, why would you do that? I don't know. Why not? Okay, all right, sure. I'd take that timeout, Matt. I got a text here from Luke on the dirt roads about Reese Hoskins. I gave you that quote before our last break. Good afternoon, Grant. Love the comment from Reese. Probably his last best chance at a significant postseason run. Why not adopt the go team attitude? Yeah, I suppose it's not, you're not saying anything wrong, Luke. It's that wording. Doesn't cost him anything, endears him to fans, and if he can come through in the clutch, it'll just further immortalize him in Milwaukee. Luke from the dirt roads. Further immortalizing. I don't know that he's been immortalized. We have to immortalize him before we can further immortalize him. It would certainly be great. Says, hey, Grant, Vaughn should be the starter at first. Bowers saved himself a spot with his performance in Pittsburgh, and he can be clutch at times. Yeah, he was last year in the postseason. Hoskins is a backup off the bench, should work out well. Go Brewers. Yeah, I think that's a good role for It's a good role for him at this moment in time. If Bowers is playing well, he's their best defensive first baseman for what it's worth. 608-321-1670. Let's sneak a call in here and then a couple comments from Jordan Love earlier. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Mike in Eau Claire.
Hey, what's going on, Mike in Eau Claire? What's up?
Not too much. I kind of knew Ben Johnson's got to be talking with his agent and lawyers about how he can get out of this contract. Keenan Allen, I have Keenan Allen in the Dynasty League, so I've had him for years.
Okay.
And
you've been following along then.
Yes, and he did nothing with Caleb Williams.
Never really worked.
In his first game back with the Chargers, granted, him and Herbert know each other, granted all that, but the Chargers are a run-first team, and they'd let him throw the ball to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And Allen he looked like his old self, even though it was like, he's old, he's not going to play anymore, you should cut him. I'm like, no, I'm going to hang on, see if he signs with a team. And here, lo and behold, he signs by the Chargers. As soon as he did that on Sunday, I'm like, the Bears are shot.
Yeah.
This is a great indication of how bad. I'm not trying to cut on the young man, but Caleb Williams is, yeah, that did it for me.
Well,
I'll let you go, brother.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Yeah, don't cut on Caleb Williams. He's like, I'm not going to cut on Caleb Williams, but yeah. It is funny. I forgot Keenan Allen was back with the Chargers until I turned on that game on Friday. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He's back in Los Angeles / San Diego, which is where he was previously, where the team was previously. I think Ben Johnson, from what people have been saying, from the smart people I've been reading and listening to today, was running and doing a lot of the same things that he ran and did in Detroit. some of the same schemes, some of the same systems. And Bill and I talked about this over the course of the summer when you're just waiting for football to start and you're thinking about what am I most interested to follow or what are the stories that I'm most interested to see. And something that I remember talking about is like, so Ben Johnson has run the most efficient, effective offense in football now for the last couple of years with the Lions. He's now going to Chicago with a completely different quarterback. Jared Goff is a pocket passer who gets the ball out quickly. He's a great trigger man for that offense. Now Ben Johnson's going to coach Caleb Williams, who's got all the talent in the world, but a very different type of quarterback. Is he going to try to run the same exact stuff and make Caleb Williams fit that stuff? Or does he have new schemes in mind? Does he have, based on what I've read and based on what I've seen today from smart people who watch the All 22, it seemed like a lot of the same stuff, and the ball was not coming out. The ball was not going where it's supposed to go. And as we talked about with Arif back at 5 o'clock, like, you could take your guesses on maybe why that is, but I don't think it was the protection. I don't think it was the wide receivers. I don't think it was. So it was either the coach communicating the play call, the quarterback hearing the play call, or the quarterback, once the play starting, just not seeing it or not wanting to play that he wants to play or not playing the way that he wants to, the way that his coach wants him to play, right? Let's put it that way. And I think there's plenty of instructive experiences that we had with Aaron Rodgers where his talent and his ability really, really moved that offense. But then there were times where it's like, hey, Aaron, just hit the guy in the slant. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here with every little tweak and audible and extending plays and rolling out the pocket. Like, sometimes it's okay to take the snap, take a 3-step drop, plant, and fire. And I think sometimes the most talented quarterbacks physically, I mean, that's another thing about Caleb Williams. It's not just his arm. His escapability is legit. He's fast and slippery. Like, he can get out and move and avoid guys the way the Rodgers used to. So it's not just that Caleb Williams has the arm talent. He has the physical, the movement skills and the movement talent as well. And he seems to like to exercise it, as Rodgers did. And that's fine. But you don't always want to do that as a matter of course. Make yourself work a lot harder. And all of a sudden, the wide receivers are coming out of their routes. They're looking for the ball. They turn. It's like, what are you doing back there? You're just running in circles, trying to get away from pass rushers when the ball should have been out 2 seconds ago. So just because a quarterback is talented enough to do it doesn't mean they should always do it. And I think Packers fans, and this isn't a knock on Rodgers, this is just a description of sometimes something that we saw with him. It's like, hey man, what I always said, I'd like to think that I coined this. I would always say Rodgers sometimes makes football harder than it needs to be. I would say that a lot. And watching Caleb Williams last night, it's like, man, Ben Johnson was brought here to be the easy button for you, man. You just got a new tight end to go with the tight end you're already paying. DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden's in the works. They've invested in the O-line. Just do the easy things. Take the easy completions and hit the easy throws. Like that's the weird thing about Caleb Williams is he had some easy completions last night where guys were open and he would just whiff them. Throw over a guy's head or throw behind a guy out on the flat. Just a really weird game. I can't get it out of my mind how bad he looked. Sorry, Bears fans. I'm with you. Caleb Williams, get it together, man. Your organization's kind of set up everything for you. Enjoy the Brewers tonight. They're in Arlington. Where do the Rangers play? I think in Arlington. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow. I actually am not 100% sure. So we'll enjoy the Brewer game tonight. Reese Hoskins back with the club. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. And tomorrow will be preview day for Thursday Night Football because the Packers are back at it in just 48 hours. Have a great night.